Welcome to the 3D Design and Print video number 11, Design Constraints. This video is a playposit video and it's a very important one, so I have added some things in to make sure that you are getting the questions correctly. If you are paying attention, you shouldn't be missing any of my questions. In this lesson, we're going to be learning about design constraints. By design constraints, I mean the rules or requirements that we have to follow. Engineers do this as well. When they are designing something, they have certain rules they have to follow, certain requirements that they have to meet for their design to be successful. Whether they're designing a robot or a bridge or a computer, a rocket ship, a building, a water treatment plant, or a playground for an elementary school. Engineers have design constraints that they have to follow. I have written your design constraints on your worksheet, and we're going to go through these one by one. The first thing is that it must be an original design. So you're not going to download any designs or shapes from the community or the internet. Okay. The second is it can only use basic shapes, except we're not using Scribble or Sketch. So that means in Tinkercad, you're in the basic shapes section. You can use any of these shapes, including this more shapes. We'll give you a few more, but we're not using Scribble or Sketch that are in this row. The third is that it needs to be school appropriate designs. So I'm not going to go into a lot of examples of what would not be school appropriate because you should know what that is. If you have questions about that, you can ask me. But this also includes creating a design that would be sharp and could be used as a weapon. That would not be school appropriate. Okay. The next thing is that if you have arches or overhangs, they must be printable on the 3D printer. And I'm going to go into this in a lot of detail. I need you to be paying close attention because if you have arches or overhangs that are not printable, you are going to have to redo your design. Before I talk to you about what's printable on our printers, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I mean by an overhang or an arch. So here's a design that I have right here. So overhangs, these are two examples of overhangs. They're things that hang off the side of a design, okay? And then arches is something with like a hole in the middle of the design where there's like material here, but not below it, okay? So I'm going to talk about what our capability of our printers are, and I'm going to do that by showing you some things that I designed and printed on our printers. So I'm going to actually start on the right side here with the one all the way on the right. So the all the way on the right, that's a 75-degree angle, and the printer was able to print that with no problem. The next one is a 60-degree, no problem. The next one is a 45-degree, the one in the middle, and the printer did fine with that. This next one is about a 30-degree angle, and it was fine with that. And then the very first one is a 15-degree angle, and the printer was able to do it, but it actually started to glitch. And let me show you what it looks like on the underside. So if you see it, it was able to print it, but the printer wasn't able to do a great job on it. So it looks a bit messy on the bottom. So I wouldn't recommend doing an angle that's quite that small. You're going to want to actually make it just a little bit tilted more up. So let me come back to my example here in Tinkercad, and let's talk about what would work and what wouldn't work. So this side overhang would be fine because it's going up at an angle the printer can handle. This one, it would not be able to print. So there's nothing for the printer to grab onto to do this part of the design. So if you wanted something to stick out like this, you would want to tilt it up more like an angle so that the printer has something to grab on. And same with this arch right here. There's nothing for it to grab on. But if you went up more like at an angle, and then this side as well went up as an angle, then it would have something to grab onto and the print would be successful. Next, your design must print in one piece. So you need to think about how you can create your design so that it can be built in one piece and will not require separate pieces on the printer. The next thing is that we're going to keep the length to less than 5 inches and width less than 5 inches. So let me just show you. If you click on your design and those white squares will show up, if you click in the corner, you'll be able to see the size. So this is okay, but this would need to be a little smaller. So you can always scale your design by holding that shift key and making it smaller. Okay. Even if your design is less than 5 inches in length and width, that does not mean it's not going to be too big. So when I analyze the design and get it ready for the 3D printer, if it's going to take more than 2 hours, I'm going to scale it down to 2 hours. Okay? Because everybody gets 2 hours maximum on the printer. At the end of this video, don't forget to write your quiz score at the place on your worksheet on step 11.